Hello, I'm Jen Leahy. I'm the chair of the economics department. At first I thought being up here alone made me important, but I've realized that actually my job here, I'm like the hostess at a restaurant. I like greet people, I say hello, and I say goodbye. So, hello, and welcome to the Department of Economics Graduate Commencement. We're here to celebrate the achievements of our doctoral and master's students. So, first of all, congratulations and welcome. Before proceeding, I'd also like to thank the friends and families of our graduates for all the support that they've shown all these years. And welcome them to these proceedings, both the people who are here and we also have some people who are online. And my third task is to introduce the person who's really going to be running the next part of the show, and that is Dmitry Stoilerov. I'm very happy to welcome Dmitry, our director of the Master in Applied Economics program.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, faculty and staff, guests and graduates. As we gather here today to celebrate the graduation from the Masters of Applied Economics programs, I feel very proud and grateful. I am honored to be looking at a diverse cohort of graduates hailing from different corners of the globe. Together, we have undertaken a remarkable journey of academic excellence, cultural exchange, and personal growth. To the international graduates, I want to take a moment to acknowledge unique challenges that you have faced as you decided to study in the US, leaving homes, families, and friends, familiar surroundings, to pursue higher education in a foreign country. International students have navigated language barriers, cultural differences, and unfamiliar academic systems, and yet they have emerged stronger, more knowledgeable, and more capable than ever before. Your time in this program has been more than just acquiring technical skills and knowledge in quantitative economics and related subjects. It has been an opportunity to open our minds, to learn from one another's perspectives, and to foster friendships and lifelong connections. In studying together, you have enriched one another's academic experience that have provided your classmates with a deeper understanding of the world's complexities. Today, we not only celebrate our academic achievements, but we also celebrate and honor the friendships you have forged. The study sessions, the group projects, and the countless conversations have formed lasting memories that will stay with you for a lifetime. You have not only learned from your professors, but you have also learned from each other, building a network of colleagues and friends that will extend far beyond your time in this program. As you move forward from this milestone, you're equipped with a unique set of skills and experiences that undoubtedly will shape your future endeavors. No matter which career path you will choose to pursue, you're well prepared to make a meaningful impact in your respective fields. The quantitative skills, critical thinking abilities, and cross-cultural competencies that you have developed in this program will serve as a solid foundation in your future success. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our faculty for their unwavering support and guidance throughout the academic journey. Your dedication to excellence and commitment to students have been instrumental in shaping the graduates' time in this program and turning them into professionals they are today. Let us give a round of applause to your instructors, Asya Senova, Maciej Dudek, Don Niwan, Oleg Zamulin, Ben Zamzo. I would also like to recognize our excellent and caring ME program coordinator, Julie Hines. Thank you, Julie, for your support and commitment to the ME students. I would also like to extend our appreciation to the families, friends, and loved ones for their support, encouragement, and sacrifices that you have made to make this day possible. As we stand here on the cusp of a new chapter of your lives, let us embrace the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead with open hearts and open minds. Let's continue to learn, grow, and make a positive impact in the world, drawing on the knowledge and experiences gained through your time in this program. In conclusion, congratulations to the ME graduates on this momentous occasion. Let us take pride in our achievements, celebrate our diversity, and look forward to a bright future filled with endless possibilities. Thank you, and congratulations to the ME class of 2024. Let me now introduce the ME program faculty advisor as well as instructor, Donni Wan. Donni will lead the ME graduation ceremony in reading the names of our graduates who will step onto the stage to get their diplomas. Donni.
Right, are we ready? First one, 蔡宇姿. Round of applause. Chen Chuyun. Du Shuray. Gu Chunhui. Gu Yichen. Archie Himadani. Marisa Hutabara. Natasid Girafin. Jian Ruikun. Lan Yijia. Li Mingxi. Liu Anqi. 刘好春、刘嘉诚、娄泽宇、Srilak Ninak、Budisamba Pakun、Rizky Shantika Putri. Careful. Elba Liliana Rubio Lopez. Woohoo. Tao Wenqing. Xu Jiayue. Ready? Xu Zhixian. Zhao Yiran. Last one. Zhu Jiaqi.
Thank you, Don Yi. Now we will move on to the part of the graduation. Okay.
Could our MAE students just stand? Give them one last round of applause. Please, all stand. Stand. One more round of applause. Congratulations. So now I'm going to pass the baton on to our Director of Graduate Studies, Sebastian Sotelo, who is going to, yes, you can walk in front of the video, it's fine. Who is going to introduce the next part of the program.
My name is Sebastian Sotelo, and in my capacity as Director of Graduate Studies, it is my pleasure to offer you very brief remarks before we acknowledge and celebrate the achievements of our graduating PhD class. As some of you may know, a few months ago, my partner and I welcomed a baby in our household. And during the many sleepless nights that followed, my mind wandered to many places, and I was acutely reminded of the old adage that begins with, "It takes a village." Perhaps such an experience is far in the past or far in the future for most of you, but I think you can all relate because it also takes a village to produce a PhD in economics. Of course, I would like to think that your thesis committee played a big part in getting you there, and they probably did. But it is first and foremost your family and friends that we need to thank. To those who you're fortunate to have with you today, and to those who could not join us to celebrate. Please join me in giving a very deserved thank you to that part of the village that we always return to for love and support. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank our wonderful staff, who I know work very hard to keep our PhD program running, beginning with admissions and ending with placements, and in many other roles of which often as students, and I'll admit even as faculty, we are not aware. So a big thanks to every member of our incredible staff as well. Now, as appropriate as it is to thank those who helped us get here, today is really about you, our new PhD graduates, and about your accomplishments. In the following weeks, in the brief lull between the time you incorporate into your dissertation the last unreasonable requests from your advisors and the time you start your new positions, you will have some time to spare. I urge you to give TikTok a break and instead consider the magnitude of what you have accomplished. As you have progressed through the program, you have mastered the theoretical and empirical foundations of our discipline, you have brought yourself to the frontier of knowledge in our fields, and you have achieved what is every advisor's dream, which is you have taught us all things that we didn't know before. This is no small feat, and the market will know how to reward it, but you should also feel very proud, and you should embrace that pride, foreign as it is being an Econ PhD student. Before closing and moving on to celebrating each of you individually, which is really the reason we're all here, I would like to remind you of the nature of your degree. Being a doctor means being one who teaches, and some of you will go on to do that quite literally as part of your next jobs. But I would like to suggest a more expansive view. You have probably already realized that you are now equipped to understand some society problems in ways that others are not. So I would like to encourage you to be generous and share what you have learned. Having said this, I believe we're ready to hand out the diplomas and hear about each of you from one of your advisors, and I would like to congratulate you once again on this big achievement. Okay, so our first graduate is Haley Aburesk-Pinstone, and her faculty speaker, Kevin Stein.
All right. It is my absolute pleasure to be here and to say a few words about the terrific work of Haley. So Haley's dissertation examines how systems of educational finance and allocation influences students' choices and their outcomes. I'm a little biased because I work on this area too, but I think this is really important. I think it's true that investment in education is perhaps the most important economic decision that people make. How to invest and what to invest in, and also that of states and countries. So it's terrific. One part of her dissertation that I found particularly exciting to learn from her about is understanding how student debt affects people's career choices. It's a difficult question to answer convincingly because students that have more debt tend to be different than students that have less debt. And she overcomes this really creative hypothetical choice experiment. She'll talk all about it to you in the break, where people are asked to choose between different types of jobs that have more or less earnings risk and other characteristics, and she observes whether those choices and how they depend on students' debt and other characteristics. One important finding is that people that have more knowledge about sort of the repayment process and the repayment plans that we put in place that help shield people from some of that risk are kind of more tolerant of taking on debt when they are making these choices. This is a super important policy, has a bunch of important policy implications for how we think about debt financing of higher education, how we design the policies around that. College debt is a really important kind of policy in space right now. I personally just learned a lot from Haley's work in this area and talk about it all the time. So I just think it's really important and appreciate all the great work that she's done, and excited to share that with you in these minute and a half that I had to. So just a huge, well-deserved congratulations, Haley.
Next, Agostina Brinati and Javier Cravino.
All right, so it's really a pleasure to introduce Agostina. As many of you know, Agostina had a remarkable market. She has accepted an offer from Chicago Booth. She also collected offers from Yale and UCLA and postdocs in Princeton, Booth, and Yale. She's going to be on the Restart tour. And I never really imagined that, Columbia would one day call me to check whether they should top code one of my students, but they did correctly for Agostina. So that's really a remarkable achievement. Agostina, if you don't know, she actually started her PhD in Davis, and then she applied here. I remember meeting you. I remember me telling you that you should come, but also being unsure whether you'd come because that would require you to repeat the first year, and there's no guarantees. As you know, the job market is very noisy. I remember that you accepted our offer. I'm being very happy, not only because you were coming, but I think you really showed your type, that you were willing to go through all of this again just to improve your odds a little bit, and you really made the best of it. Agostina's job market paper studies how restrictions to immigrations in the US affect immigration into Canada, how that in turn affect the Canadian economy, and how that then propagates back to the US through international trade. She also has completed 2 other papers, also on immigration, which are R&R top 5 journals. And this is really remarkable because nobody in the international trade group actually works on immigration. We were lucky to have John Bound's help, but I think this just shows the remarkable independence and maturity that you have. Agostina, it's really been a unique privilege for me to be your advisor. I learned a lot from you, not just economics, but also how you handle adversity, how you keep your calm in difficult times, and how you manage to twist problems and issues until you get a solution. It's really a remarkable skill to see from anyone, but especially from somebody at your stage. And it's really been an honor. I'm confident you'll go on and have a remarkable career and that you will continue to make us all proud.
Nadim Elayan Balaguer and Dmitry Stolyarov.
I'm delighted to present Nadim. He works at the intersection of macroeconomics and labor economics. Nadim's hallmark research style is ask questions of big economic significance, policy relevance, and wide appeal to an audience of professionals and policymakers alike. To give you one example, his job market paper looks at a very surprising facet of economic inequality. It is known that education is a gateway to high socioeconomic status. And as it turns out, phenomena such as economic recessions may leave lifelong scars on young people in terms of not letting them achieve their education potentials. In fact, Nadim demonstrated using evidence pooled from several data sources that students whose families are faced with a recession when they are in college display starkly different patterns of behavior depending on their family socioeconomic status. The so-called rich students use college as a safe haven to escape the stormy job market so they are more likely to continue their education when the labor market is less favorable. By contrast, the students whose families have lower socioeconomic status and perhaps struggle financially during the recession, they are in fact more likely to drop out, leaving a lifelong scar in education, in that their education is not complete and their market earnings potential is never realized. So this is something that we didn't know before, and this is a very important contributor to accumulated disadvantage and economic inequality. This is what Nadim demonstrated in his job market paper. He now will be joining the Central Bank of Chile as an economist, and I wish him the best of success to make the impact on economic policy in Chile.
Luis Miguel Espinosa Bardales. Okay, so Luis Miguel is a scholar, and one interested in how to make policy work for developing countries. I believe that short remarks will not do him justice, but I'll try. A common view within economics holds that institutions are the key to long-run development. But Luis Miguel has always been bothered by this view, not because it is incorrect, but because it leaves us with little room for policy action. How does one fix, for example, the judiciary? His thesis, therefore, looks for ways to sidestep the costs of bad institutions. In particular, he asks, what can we learn from the fact that multinational affiliates seem to thrive in countries and sectors where institutions are particularly bad? Luis Miguel moved heaven and earth to answer this question, along the way showing his strong commitment to research and impressing us all with his work ethics. He traveled to Mexico to access the data set necessary for his analysis in the middle of the COVID pandemic. Then he developed an elegant model that allows us to quantify precisely that, how difficult it is to do business when courts are bad. Luis Miguel shows us that, contrary to what we previously thought, beyond enjoying a pure productivity advantage, multinational affiliates can also sidestep bad institutions through easier access to inputs and business relations in other countries. Luis has found a new home at the Public Policy and Administration School in Texas A&M University, where he will continue furthering our knowledge of how to improve policy. Congratulations, Miguel. Andrea Foskey and Catherine Dominguez.
I am delighted to introduce you to Andrea Foskey. Ski, remember, everyone should go skiing. Andrea is an amazing student. He has many, many papers. We were trying to decide which papers he should include in his dissertation. The one I'll talk a little bit about is his job market paper. He was trying to understand what determines government bond market risk and what drives risk sentiment. And in particular, he's looking at what drives flights to safety. And he actually created an index called The Fly, which I think we're going to be hearing a lot about in years to come. His paper tells us something really important that policymakers need to know, which is When investors start to panic or their sentiment is contagion-driven, what exactly is driving that sentiment? We also have a joint paper that we worked on together, and in it we look at what we call whatever it takes policymaking. And in particular, we look at policies that central banks put in place during COVID. We were able to go to his home country, Italy, to present the paper, and I actually got to hear him speak Italian, which is something very beautiful to hear. Andrea has a seriousness of purpose and a maturity that is really unusual for someone so early in his research career. But he also has a great sense of humor. He's a fabulous economist. He's off to the Bank of Italy, and he's promised that he's going to invite me there. Congratulations, Andrea.
Chris Holra and Sarah Miller.
So it's a great honor to get to talk about Chris and his terrific dissertation today. For those of you who haven't been to a doctoral defense, there's sort of a moment in the beginning of the defense when the candidate leaves the room and the committee discusses whether the dissertation merits the bestowal of a doctoral degree. And typically, people talk about the strengths and the weaknesses, the things they like and don't like. And it was so striking for me that Chris's dissertation defense, we went around and nobody could come up with like a substantive negative criticism of the work that he had done. Now, if you know economists, we love criticizing things. It's like our reason to get out of bed in the morning is to criticize. And so it was really striking to me. So I'm just going to quickly talk about one part of Chris's dissertation, which is his job market paper. And to give you a little context for this, I'll just share with you that economists have long been kind of advocates of patients having to pay a little bit of money when they go to use medical care. So if you go to the doctor, you pay a copay, you get prescription drugs, you pay a copay. And historically, economists have said this is a really good idea because it's going to make people use care more thoughtfully. They're going to avoid wasteful care. They're only going to get care that's really effective and really valuable. Well, Chris's job market paper basically turned this prediction or this theory on its head. He had this great empirical setting, and I'll spare you the details about the statistical analysis, but he had essentially a naturally occurring RCT where some people, low-income Medicare beneficiaries, had to pay more for prescription drugs than others. And what he found was that when you randomly made people pay more, they used fewer prescription drugs, fine. But what was really interesting was that the quality of the drug or the effectiveness or how valuable the drug was totally not predicted by how much the quantity demanded went down. Basically, life-saving drugs were cut back on just as much as other drugs. And so this idea that people are going to make better decisions when they're facing more cost sharing, it didn't seem to hold. So I think it's a really great paper, really interesting and important, will have a big impact in public finance and health economics. And the last thing I'll say is, to be honest, I'm really going to miss having Chris around next year. A lot of you are Chris's friends, you're in his cohort, or you've had him as a student, and so this is not going to be surprising to you at all, but he's just such a great guy. He's so awesome to interact with. It's been such a privilege getting to work with him. He's thoughtful, he's caring, he's a good friend, he's humble, he's just, it's really been an honor getting to learn from him. I've learned a lot about economics, but I've also learned about being a good colleague and being a good friend to others. So as sad as I am that he's leaving, I'm also very excited for him to be joining the FTC in 1 month and excited for him to start this new chapter in his life. So congratulations, Chris.
Emily Horton and Jim Hines.
We have a fiction in the Michigan Economics Department that the learning that goes on is that the students learn from the faculty. And that's partly true. But what, as you've gleaned from some of the conversations already, and I completely agree with Sarah Miller about Chris Holra, we learn a lot from our students too. It's really a two-way street. I have never seen it more a two-way street than with Emily Horton. So Emily is a brilliant public finance economist, and she has enormous common sense. That is a rare combination, and Emily's got it. If she's got a theory or an interpretation and subjects it and wants to investigate it, she subjects it to analysis, to equation theory or empirics, and if it's wrong, she concludes it's wrong. I have to say, I don't see that very much, and that is what she does. Numerous times since I started working with Emily, I encountered things in my own work, and I have asked myself, what would Emily say right now? Well, I can tell you what Emily says about housing markets because that was her job market paper, and her job market paper and first chapter of her dissertation analyzes the effect of the 2017 tax reform on US housing markets. There was quite a bit of concern and I would say widely held belief in the United States that provisions of that tax bill would significantly reduce housing prices in certain markets in the United States because there was a reduction in your ability to take deductions and in high tax areas and, frankly, blue states. And Emily subjected this to careful empirical investigation. And it turns out that was wrong. And I mean, it's really wrong. All you have to do is read 60 pages of Emily's dissertation and you will see just how wrong it is. Emily go off to the Treasury, Office of Tax Analysis. We will be expecting great things from Treasury in the future, and we are expecting, frankly, great things from Emily in the future. Brilliance in public finance and common sense. Who knew they could go together?
Maximilian Huppertz. So as faculty, part of my job is to meet with PhD students, give them feedback, and point them to new directions to pursue. But every once in a while, I run into a student who gives me the distinct impression of being at least a couple of steps ahead of me and having already thought about my suggestions. Max is one of those students, and it is no surprise to me that he has produced a thesis consisting of 3 excellent papers in international trade, development, and climate change. Take as example his impressive job market paper. In this paper, Max provides an anatomy of firms' responses to weather shocks using rich data about firms in the developing world. Max's paper shows that, contrary to conventional wisdom, weather shocks affects more firms that are engaged in exporting. And it also shows that in response to weather shocks that lower labor productivity, firms further scale back their investments in other items, such as machinery and office space, thus reinforcing the negative impacts of weather shocks. Max uses his paper as well to help us think about how policies that are contingent on firm size, as well as trade policy, might be a tool to be used in a future in which climate change looms. Max will be going to the Bank of England, where he will join as a research economist, and he will continue expanding our knowledge of the economics of climate change. Congratulations, Max. Aaron Kay and Ying Fan.
is my honor to introduce Aaron and talk about his research. But before that, in order to explain his research, I first need to share a personal story. So once my house was attacked by skunks, my husband learned online that coyote urine can deter skunks, so he bought a bottle. For several weeks after that, I got personalized recommendation, which is red fox urine, gray wolf urine, etc., which was great. I didn't know such products exist, and I learned a lot. Okay, so that's what Aaron's paper is about. Not a biology paper. It's about personalized recommendation. You may think that's great. When you go to when you want to book a hotel, you go to a platform, and then the hotel knows you like 3-star, knows you have 2 children, you like to buy a bigger room, and then when you search and display according to what the platform knows who you are, and that saves you time. Right? So it sounded great, but Aaron, being trained to be critical, says, wait a second. That may not be the case because firms are typically not passive. When hotels know that you get personalized recommendation, you may not search much, it's as if you are not price sensitive. And they may end up charging a higher price. Okay, so that's indeed what Aaron found. He found that if we ignore firms' reaction, personalized recommendation is good for consumers, but once you take into account firms' reaction, that's not necessarily the case. So you can see this is a very intuitive and important paper, and Aaron addressed the paper with a lot of effort, collecting the data and with a combination of methods. So it's a great contribution. After graduation, Aaron is first going to MIT for 1-year postdoc, and then he will join Boston University as assistant professor. So proud of you. Congratulations.
I would add, Aaron has also transformed our skit show and left a very high bar for future generations. Next, Qian Li and David Miller.
Qian Li is a microeconomic theorist who studies auctions. His dissertation breaks new ground in the computation of equilibria and multi-unit auctions. This has long been recognized as a difficult problem in the literature. Qian is able to make new progress by focusing on the case of discrete type spaces, where things are slightly more tractable, but where the equilibria are in mixed strategies. Qian is able to compute these complicated equilibria in closed form, which is a dramatic achievement given the prior state of the literature. Turns out that the resulting allocations are highly inefficient. So that's a summary of his job market paper. This summer, Qian is going to move to Turkey, where he'll become an assistant professor of economics at Istanbul Technical University. Qian, congratulations and best wishes on the next stage of your career.
José Ramón Morán. Okay, so if there's something you know about international trade, you probably know about the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, which ensures lower tariffs among US, Canada, and Mexico firms. You would also assume that the majority of exporters take advantage of this agreement, but you would be wrong, as I was before I saw José's job market paper. His paper shows that a large number of Mexican exporters, in fact, do not use NAFTA to export. Small firms do not find it worthwhile to invest in learning the regulations, while large firms, importantly, find it too costly to comply because rules of origin limit the number of countries that they can source their inputs from. Jose shows that this is a fact that is crucial to understanding the impacts of the strictness of rules of origin on international trade. And this is very important because rules of origin are a very widespread feature of free trade agreements. I wonder if people who have interacted with Jose share this view, but every time I talk to him, I come out in a better mood than before. Despite being serious about his research, there is an easygoing quality to him that makes it a real pleasure to work with him. Jose has taken a position at the Central Bank of Mexico, and I can easily envision a path in which his research will end up influencing policymaking in his country. Congratulations, Jose. Russell Morton and Ying Fan.
So Russell's work focuses on the area that I'm really passionate about. So he combines development with industrial organization. So we know that there are many important health and economic issues in developing countries that has drawn a lot of attention by developing economists. But my personal view is, what about the issue of market power is also important, and that is the issue, that is the area that's understudied, and that's exactly what Russell is doing. And his job market paper studies the interaction of vertical integration and relational contract in the context of Indian garment industry. And at a very high level, so the paper is quite difficult. At a very high level, there was a problem, and there are two solutions. And as far as I can tell, Russell's paper is the first one that studied the interaction of the two solutions. And this is important because in reality, we see firms use a combination of these two solutions. So Russell's paper is really a home run. It addresses interesting research questions, use a combination of methods from the two fields, and the paper makes significant contribution to both the field of development and the field of industrial organization. After graduation, Russell is going to Yale for a postdoc for 1 year, and then he will join University of Rochester as assistant professor. His ability to bridge these two fields is going to position him really well to contribute to both fields. So I'm so proud of you, and best of luck.
Emir Murathanoglu and Dean Yang.
Emir Murathanoglu. I'm very proud to have had Emir as my student for the past many years. Emir first came into my life when I taught Econ 665, the second year Development Economics field sequence. And my strongest recollection of that class was that basically that entire class was a conversation, perhaps a debate, really a debate between Emir and me. Emir really entered that class, like a force of nature, like a hurricane. As it turns out, that's what Emir ended up doing his job market paper on. He studies hurricanes, typhoons in the Philippines, and their consequences for international labor migration. Emir's job market paper is a seminal contribution, a real home run, in the literature on the economic consequences of international labor migration. The literature on international labor migration tends to focus on impact on migrant income and the money that migrants send back home to their home countries, which are very important responses or impacts of international labor migration. But Emir takes a different tack, trying to understand how international labor migration helps people in developing countries cope with risk. and cope with natural disasters in particular hurricanes, or as they call them in the Philippines, typhoons. So Amir's job market paper uses a combination of unique new data sources to tease out our new understandings about the impact of international labor migration on coping with risk in developing countries. This is going to be, this is a very important contribution to the literature. With this as a basis, I'm very, very excited to see where Amir's work is going to proceed. I'm very confident that he's going to produce many, many more brilliant insights in this realm and elsewhere. Let me also just say that it's been a real pleasure having Amir as a student here at Michigan for many years. Very quickly, Amir and I ended up working together on a research project, which we continue to work on. And he started as a research assistant, but very quickly progressed to being a co-author. So for many years, I've thought about Amir not really as a student any longer, but as a colleague and a peer. So very, very excited that for your next stage in your career, you'll be starting as an assistant professor in the Department of Economics at Oberlin College. Not too far from here. I'm happy that we'll probably be able to see each other more often than if you had been going off to some far corner of the universe. So again, Amir, I'm very excited to see where your career will go. Best of luck with everything.
John Olson and Chris House.
Okay, I'm very glad to say something about John Olson, a student. John's work is at the intersection of macroeconomics and public finance. His job market paper was on the macroeconomic effects of tax and benefit cliffs. This is actually very interesting work and very important work. And I encourage you to talk to John actually in the reception. It's the sort of work that I tell my undergraduates about. It's very compelling work. But actually what I'm going to tell you about is the first time I met John when he entered the program. One of the first times I met John. So this is, I think I was walking in Lorch Hall in the third floor in Lorch Hall. I should also add that this year I'm the PhD admissions director. And so I'm the person who is making admissions decisions. And you always worry when you're making admissions decisions about, are you admitting the right people or not? And this is what you worry about. Anyway, so I think I was the admissions director when John came into the program. And so I met John in Lorch Hall at some point, and I walked by and I saw him there. And as I walked by, I looked, and as I looked at him, I thought I saw that he had a mathematical equation tattooed on his arm. And I looked closer, and he did. He had a mathematical equation tattooed on his arm, and it was an economics equation. It was a Cobb-Douglas production function. I couldn't believe it. What did he do? Did he lose a bet with his study group or something? I mean, how does that happen? And no, it turned out that he did this intentionally. And at that point, I knew that we had admitted the right person into the program. We absolutely made the right choice. So John will be starting at Northwestern's, as an assistant professor at Northwestern's Applied Economics program, and it's the Applied Economics and Social Economics Policy program next year. And they're very lucky to have him, I should say. Congratulations.
Tyler Radler and Jim Hines.
Tyler Radler is a man on a mission to help families in need. Tyler produced an excellent dissertation about government interventions to help families in need. Part of the dissertation looks at federal disability programs for children and separately for adults that are all there to support families. He uses observed behavior to infer family need with implications for the design of these programs. Another part of the dissertation looks at the market for doctors, and in particular, how to provide medical services to rural areas where they are bereft of sufficient medical care currently. The answers are not necessarily what you would expect, but you'll have to read the thesis to find out. Tyler is off to Bates White in Washington. He's someone who wants to make the world a better place. I think he probably will.
Shweta Raghuraman and John Bound.
Hello. Working with Shweta was a real pleasure. I should also say something that, I am going to say something that has been implied by what others have said. I'm the chair of her dissertation committee, but the other members certainly played a very important role. She has 2 members from the Ford Policy School, members of her committee, and also Zach Brown, who's a IO economist and was enormously helpful in terms of her job market paper. So it was a collective effort on our part, and I'm kind of honored to be the representative who then gets to just quell about Shweta and say how much of a pleasure it has been in the years she's been here as a student. Her thesis research was focused on the kind of education market. Her job market paper focused on the decisions that families who have kids who are going to high school in New York City or transitioning into high school, public high schools in New York City, decisions they have to make. I think New York City has the largest public school system in the country, if not the largest, one of the 2 largest. And as is true of many other systems in the U.S., large systems in the U.S., they've evolved to one in which parents or families have a good deal of choice on where to apply to send their children to school. And she's studying that complex decision. She did that using administrative data from the New York public school system. That was more than a headache, that she persisted in obtaining that data, not so much from resistance from the New York public school system, but as far as I can understand, the U of M lawyers were very worried about all the details of whatever contract she had with the school system. And somehow, if it had been me, I would have given up long before I obtained the data. She persisted. She also got help from administrators here. And it was just, and among other things, what this meant is she had less time to do the work than she really should have had. So it was like, oh my God, thank God that's not me. At any rate, the result, the job market paper is both technically a very sophisticated kind of analysis, but at the same time is, I think, has the potential for being quite meaningful in terms of the conclusions it comes to. When it came time for me to, as we have to do, to actually talk about the work of our students and in a way that's accurate and accurate, but still says positive things about them. One of the things I did, which will, I think, illustrate things I think about Shweta, is I did a comparison. This may not be a legitimate thing for me to do, but I can't be fired anymore, so I'm going to do it anyway. That's a joke that somebody can explain to people who don't understand it. Anyway, I compared her to a former student here who some of the faculty and people here will know of or have even know, Susanna Loeb. And the comparison was Susanna Loeb was a person who graduated from a prestigious engineering program in the United States. That was true of Shweta. Susanna Loeb, Shweta spent some time between her undergraduate degree and her entering graduate school. That was true for both of them. Susanna ended up focusing her interest. She always knew she was interested in education. She focused her interest in education. She currently is, I think, has made a very substantial contributions to her understanding of what makes K-12 education in the U.S. work and fail, and has had enormously positive impact or potential impact on kind of the well-being of students in the U.S. Shweta's just beginning her career, so she hasn't yet done that, but I have hopes and expectations that she will follow in the same kind of line to make the world a better place. Next year, Shweta will be going off to Denmark to a prestigious postdoctoral program in Aarhus. She told me how to pronounce it. I actually looked in the web how to pronounce it. She tells me that people in Denmark pronounce it somewhat differently than the web tells you to pronounce it. I'm sure I got neither of them right, but it's prestigious postdoc in Denmark, and then off to the rest of her career. It has been a very big pleasure for me to spend a few years interacting with you, Shweta, and it has been a pleasure. Congratulations.
Brock Robery. Okay, Brock's an interesting case. I've known Brock since he took my second year class a few years ago, and every day he would sit next to Emir, and they would chatter and chuckle and smirk. And look, international trade is a lot of fun, but it's not that fun. They seem to be having too much fun, and that didn't endear Brock to me too much. But over the next few years, Brock won me over with his good cheer, his strong commitment to research, and his professionalism. For some reason, I hired him as an RA, and now we have ended up working together on a paper that hopefully will see the light of day soon. One of Brock's traits that I appreciate the most is his gift for applied theory and his commitment to examining the world through the lens of such theory. These traits have served him very well in writing a first-rate thesis on the economics of transportation, a topic about which he is now one of the leading experts that I know. His job market paper in particular explains the location of warehouses over space and the critical role that they play in modern transportation networks. The paper is an impressive technical feat and is applied to understanding the efforts of a large humanitarian organization, which strikes me as a very important application nowadays. Brock is going to the World Bank, where he will continue applying his knowledge of transportation economics. Although I wish we had had more time to talk about his thesis, I am very happy for him, and I'll certainly miss him around here. Carolina Toyal Ramos dos Santos, and Ing Fan.
So I talk about Aaron's work by starting with coyote urine, right? Now I need to tell you about the sewer system. But kidding aside, Carolina's work is incredibly important. Let me explain why. Her job market paper study ways to improve access to clean water and sanitation in Brazil. And we all know that access to clean water and sanitation is critical for individual health and economic well-being. And unfortunately, it remains an issue in many developing countries, including Brazil, the world's 8th largest economy, which I didn't know before she told me, talking about two-way learning. So, like many governments in developing countries with limited resources, the Brazilian government tries to improve access through regulated private provider. The government goal is to achieve 99% coverage of the population with piped water and 90% with piped sewage by 2033. And in Carolina's paper, she asked, are these goals achievable under the current price regulation? And it turns out the answer depends on, one, the availability of the system, which is a firm decision, and two, the take-up rate, which is a consumer decision, and she studies both. And using a novel data and a combination of methods, and she finds that unfortunately, under the current pricing regulation, the take-up rates do not reach the target, and the target is inconsistent with firm interest. So you can see that even though I started by talking about jokes about urine and sewage system, it's an incredibly important paper. And after graduation, Carolina is going to Inter-American Development Bank. So I had 4 students on the market and graduating and went through the market. When they all got a job, I was just so happy. I run around and say, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. And Carolina was the first one who got the job. So I'm so proud of you. Congratulations, and best of luck.
Diane Vaught and Matthew Shapiro.
Hi, it's a pleasure to tell you something about Diane's dissertation. It's a quintessential University of Michigan dissertation because it uses nitty-gritty data about a detailed institutional arrangement to actually answer fundamental questions about how the economy works and how policy adjusts. So Diane's thesis is on the role of brokers in international trade and how different firms, when presented with a shock, decide where they should import from. And Diane had the idea and identified important institutional arrangements, found the data, figured out deep problems with the data, and resolved them. Another quintessential Michigan contribution. Did this in the basement of the ISR building using confidential census data, and has taught us that that the way trade arrangements work fundamentally depends on this detailed microstructure, and that the role of brokers is fundamentally important and will actually, I think, be highly influential, frequently cited as an example of how understanding the arrangements, getting the right data actually informs understanding of the economy. She'll be taking this great research to the U.S. Department of the Treasury, where she'll be working in macroeconomics and international trade. Congratulations on an outstanding dissertation.
So I open and I close. So we are nearing the end of this proceedings. I have a couple of things that I want to do before we leave. First, I'd like to give a shout out to 3 of our graduates who were unable to make it here today. Cameron Fenn, Yiming Liu, and Iris Vrioni. Congratulations. Next, there will be no recessional. The graduates can come up and we'll have pictures. The rest of us, there will be a reception on the 2nd floor in the Foster Library. If we're lucky, it will be Jerusalem Garden, but I think that we might have something else planned. I would like to thank all the friends and parents, those that could make it and those that couldn't make it and are watching on live stream. Thank you again for all of your support throughout the years. And then finally, let's just give up one more round of applause for all of our graduates, Masters of Applied Economics, PhD candidates. Congratulations. Class dismissed. Go Blue. That's it. Huh? No, there's no recessional. The graduates come up for pictures. Yeah. The graduates